She was born today.
Baby Rose.
Baby Rose.
Bless you.
She was born one day after her due date on January 19th, 2022, and it was a great birth. Everything went totally fine. We were really happy, and we had 2 weeks at home with our healthy little baby before there were any problems, which we found out at her 2-week pediatrician appointment. He noticed that she had some jaundice and pale stools and wasn't gaining weight, and so he sent us to Vanderbilt worried about something called biliary atresia, a rare liver disease.
Ultimately, we found out she did have biliary atresia.
So biliary atresia is a progressive disease that causes obliteration of the bile ducts that drain the liver. Her liver has problems getting the bile out. And when that happens, the bile that kind of stays within the liver causes irritation and inflammation of the liver. And over time, that's led to scarring of the liver or liver cirrhosis.
When Rose was 1 month old, they put her under a surgery called the COTA procedure to try to correct the problem with the bile ducts. And that surgery failed 3 months later, and they put her on the transplant list, and she was just living in the hospital. We were all living in the hospital for about 6 weeks or more, just waiting for the transplant. We didn't know how long it would take. We didn't know how sick she would get, and she got very, very sick. It was a rough road.
It was touch and go for the last couple of weeks, and really at multiple points she could have died.
On July 9th, she had her transplant. She had a match with a deceased donor who we are so grateful for, our hero, and the surgeons worked all night long, and it was a successful surgery.
She's gonna get a new liver.
You're gonna get a new liver today. Okay? And you're gonna be healthy and pink. You're not gonna be sick anymore.
It was extremely nerve-wracking, but she got through it and did very well, and that started off a process of healing. So she was still in critical care for a couple of weeks after transplant. We ultimately, after a few weeks in the hospital after the transplant, got to go home.
When we brought her home, she had a feeding tube. She was on 19 different doses of medication a day. She had to get a shot in her leg twice a day for a blood clot. It was a lot, but we were just happy to be home together.
So since the last COTA event, we had hoped that we would just be home and Rose would heal and everything would be good, normal, post-transplant. But it ended up being a really hard year. She was in and out of the hospital. She had multiple biopsies. They thought it might be rejection. She got sick a number of times. She just wasn't doing well. So Christmas Day of 2022 ended up admitting her to the hospital, and she was there for 2 months. And it was a very difficult 2 months. She had so many tests done. She had many CT scans. She had multiple endoscopies. She had bone marrow biopsies. She was stuck in her room for 2 months. She couldn't leave the hospital room. People had to gown up to even come into the room. She ended up spending her first birthday in that situation.
Happy birthday, dear Rose. Happy birthday to you. Yay!
It was actually worse than the time she was going through her transplant, because she was dying again, but nobody knew why. There was nothing to do. There was no big transplant we knew was going to happen. I was pregnant with Davy, and hospital life in general is hard, being pregnant and trying to take care of Rose, and that was some of the darkest days of my life.
They ended up treating her for what's called PTLD. It's essentially a type of lymphoma. After a few rounds of that medication, it seemed like it was working. Her fevers were going away, and they eventually let her go home. She still had this one little area which was a stricture, which was not allowing food to pass through. So June comes around, Davy, our second born, was born. It went very well. It was exciting to say the least. And then the following month after he was born, Rose was hospitalized about 4 times, including one of the most intense medical situations we've been in, where she was rushed to the hospital in respiratory distress. Ended up being in the ICU for a while. So they finally decided that she needed a surgery to remove the stricture. And that ultimately began the journey back to her health, or back to health for the first time. After a lot of hard work by Emily, myself, Rose, and therapists, we eventually, after months, got her off of the TPN and then in G-tube feeds.
Oh, notice she doesn't have her tube anymore.
It was very scary. We didn't know if she could do it. A lot of people were doubtful, but she did. And now she loves to eat. She wakes up every morning and says, "Eat, eat." And she just loves food, so it's an amazing feeling.
She learned how to walk.
Walk to Dada. Walk to Dada. Yay!
Every moment of every day, I look at Rose and I am so aware constantly of the gift that is her life. We get to have her. She's here with us. We hope she's here with us forever, and we don't know how long we have her here, but every moment of every day, I watch her smiling and laughing and running and just living, and growing, and it's just a miracle, and we're so grateful. We're thankful for COTA and the lifetime of the transplant-related expenses, because we never know what can happen. We're hopeful, but we're cautiously optimistic. We had no idea since the last fundraiser all that would be to come. We had no idea that she was going to get cancer, need another surgery, have countless medical interventions that are expensive, and therapies and all of that. And that's why COTA exists. They know that this is a lifetime worth of expenses, of transplant-related expenses, and we're so grateful. I am excited to watch Rose grow up. I'm excited to watch her learn how to run and jump and play ball. And I'm excited to watch her go to school. And I'm excited to watch her learn how to sing and play instruments and do anything she wants to do.
We're very, very hopeful for her future and what's to come even this year. She's doing great, and we couldn't be happier. Do you want to say anything, Rose?
Yeah.